Welcome to a Legendarium special about winter 1789, the freeze that helped to ignite revolution. In this episode, we will learn about a time when winter really did come and changed history. As famine and epidemic disease became a thing of the past during the 18th century, France's population grew from 20 million in 1720 to 27 million in 1780. Unfortunately, that meant another 6 or 7 million more mouths to feed. Most French adamantly refused to eat anything but a cereal-based diet, which meant that new crops like the potato did not have the desired effect. And in July 1788, a freak summer hailstorm destroyed many of the crops in the Paris basin. Soon after, a late summer drought would be followed by the longest and cruelest winter France had seen in 80 years. Heavy snowfalls occurred almost every other day well into April 1789. It grew so cold that peasant farmers dared not venture out of their homes for all but the direst needs. Deeply frozen rivers and mills immobilized by ice meant that their cereals could not be turned into flour and then bread. This led to a rise in unemployment at a time when bread prices skyrocketed. In good times, an average worker spent half his income on bread, but in the spring of 1789, the better off spent 2/3 of their wages only on bread. Meanwhile, the worst off could spend up to 9/10 of their income on it. During winter 1789, the Duc de Dorset wrote, "The wretchedness of the poor surpasses all description." Thomas Jefferson, the United States then minister to France, wrote, "There came on a winter of such severe cold as was without example in the memory of man or in the written records of history. All outdoor labor was suspended, and the poor, without the wages of labor, were, of course, without either bread to eat or fuel to keep warm." The death grip of winter lasted for months, leaving people trapped in their homes for days at a time. While many flocked to the cities looking for work, many town dwellers also flooded the countryside looking for work on farms. However, by the late 18th century, many peasant farms could barely support a single family. Due to the practice of splitting the land evenly amongst sons, many farmers worked tiny and meager pieces of land. This led many landless peasants to seek work on the large estates owned by nobles. Since these estates only provided work during harvest season, laborers suffered poverty for the rest of the year. Many of the landless and unemployed people who flooded the countryside turned to begging and perhaps thievery. Traveling from farm to farm, often in groups, these vagrants asked for crusts of bread or places to sleep for the night. Many peasants grew distrustful or outright fearful of the vagrants. Word spread that bands of vagabonds knocked down fences or set fire to farmers' fruit trees after being denied help. Other tales told of vagrants invading wheat fields and cutting down unripe stalks of grain, threatening the next harvest. Some farmers nervously wrote to nearby towns asking for soldiers to be sent to protect their fields from vandalism or theft. Some even blamed the church for not providing the poor with the money collected from tithes. Salt smugglers took advantage of the countryside chaos by traveling from farm to farm, terrorizing farmers into buying their illegal goods. These smugglers would often be followed by the gabelots, the hated tax collectors contracted by the French government. Little better than state-sanctioned thugs, gabelots often beat and robbed peasants suspected of purchasing black market salt, which meant they didn't pay the tax. Sometimes the gabelots even hauled peasants off to jail on the spot without trial. As the people expected the king to ensure the food supply, Louis XVI became known as Le Premier Boulanger du Royaume, or First Baker of the Kingdom. Finance Minister Jacques Necker claimed that to show solidarity with those who lacked wheat, Louis XVI ate lower-class Maslin bread. Maslin bread is made from a mix of wheat and rye rather than the elite manchette, or white bread made by sifting wholemeal flour to remove wheat germ and bran. This method meant one had enough wheat at one's disposal to discard most of it in the baking process. Of decadence and waste. Yet this feeble propaganda did not fill empty bellies or change minds. During 1789, a rumor went around claiming that upon hearing that the people of France had no bread, Marie Antoinette callously remarked, "Let them eat cake." The story is almost certainly false. Despite her lavish lifestyle and obsession with gambling, Marie Antoinette gave generously to charity throughout her reign. Indeed, similar stories circulated about other supposedly hard-hearted royals, including two aunts of Louis XVI and Marie's mother, Maria Theresa. Nonetheless, people proved all too willing to believe their foreign-born queen scoffed at their hunger, and so it is small wonder that when the Estates General met during summer 1789, France was ripe for revolution. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.